What is good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Conversation Piece, the podcast about the missing pieces of the conversations we're already having right here in Indianapolis. I am your host, Patrick Armstrong, and I am so excited to be with you for the last episode of 2024, the year of the nap. I feel like I haven't been saying that in our intros, and I'm really glad to say it because it has been a very, very excellent year, and I'm really excited about what 2025 is going to bring. Really quickly, before we jump into this conversation, our website should be updated, and hopefully the store is up, but we 100% have merch right now. So if you don't see it on the website, conversationpiecepod.com, hit me up in the DMs, at conversationpiecepod, at Patrick in the World. Let's get you them shirts because they're tight, and we have some really cool stuff coming in 2025 as well. With that being said, I am very excited about this conversation I'm about to have today. My guest today is a wonderful human being, a multi-hyphenate creator who facilitates healing through vulnerability and creative expression. Whether it's putting pen to paper through poetry and writing, crafting and communing via the bending and stamping of metal, or simply just being in community with others, you will find care and grace whenever you cross paths with her, whether directly or indirectly. I know because I've had the privilege, so I will tarry no further and let you know that it is my great joy and honor to welcome Korie Griggs to the show. Korie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
I already knew you did amazing intros and bios. So I was waiting for that. But yeah, you're going to have to send me that.
Okay.
Wow.
You can take this piece of paper
home,
actually.
I would love that.
Absolutely.
I would love that.
Let's do it.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I feel like, okay, help me out with the timeline because I feel like we crossed paths randomly much earlier on a year and a half ago, but I think it might have been at the humanities building. Was it then or was it before then? I can't remember.
I think it was then.
Okay.
But this is kind of my storyline with a lot of people.
Okay.
Is I'll cross paths and not really know when or how or exactly where, but I'm just I'll notice a person and I'm okay, this is the beginning of something.
Right.
It'll be a story essentially. But what I do recall is the humanities building.
Yeah.
For was it a panel or
a
focus group?
I was in a program through IUPUI.
Yeah.
The Speculative Play and Just Futurities program with Thomas Nealand.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Thomas.
Cousin Thomas.
That's that dude. Well, I think it just going back to the intro real quick. I think it just speaks to again that care and the love, the welcoming love. I think that just kind of radiates from your personality, at least from my perspective. That walking away from that interaction, even though the goal was not to meet you specifically, I was I want to continue to have conversations with this person.
Yeah.
And at the very least, I want to continue to follow the work that they do. And I just want to say I've been very inspired by the stuff that you've done.
Wow.
And just in that time frame. And I'm really excited to talk about some of it. But before we get to that, I did give you that introduction. But for people who are listening or watching right now who don't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I'm working on trying to figure out how to do a Cliff Notes version of myself and my life. And the other night, this was asked to me. So I'm going to try to replicate that essentially. I am a person who just really loves to create. And it's what has gotten me through every season of life from literally the beginning of my existence. So I'm a creator, I'm a healer. And what by that I mean is art, healing, they're one and the same for me. Creativity, healing, one and the same for me. I'm a grief coach, death doula, end-of-life care, community worker. Let's see. Just a person who really loves coffee too. So I'm fueled by coffee. Yeah, it's a lot of things. I also say often, I contain multitudes. So depending on the day that you interact with me, I might be in a different role than the next time you interact with me. So even, for instance, the day that we met at Humanities, I was very much in a community role, okay, I'm here as a member of the community to see what's going on in the community, which is always the main thread, collective care, community care, self-care, all of that. And then maybe the next time you'll see me, I'll just have my camera at a hip hop show. Who knows? So it's whatever feels good.
Yeah.
That's really it.
I love it. Containing multitudes. We just had Fitz on the show.
Yes.
And he talked about, I called him an artist and his art style. And he talked about not wanting to be boxed into a label specifically as having a distinct style, but more of just being the artist and being capable of doing multitudes of things. So I appreciate you saying that, because I'm like, okay, I need to work on that language of how when I meet people, being like, okay, I don't want to just assume that this is what you do and this is only what you do.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that there's space for you to be all of the things that you do.
Yeah.
And I want to approach it with that curious nature. So I love what you said, like healing and creating one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
When did those things become one and the same? Were they always one and the same, or did you have to work to bring those two together?
Yeah, I think they've always been one and the same, but I didn't have language for it. So I started journaling really intently when I was 8 years old. And like, that's when my writing practice really began. And now when I look back on some of those writings and journals, I'm like, oh, like it's always been healing. Like that's always been the space for me to get out whatever is in here so that it's not like splashing out in the world in a harmful way.
Sure.
And I was very much like, when I was 8, that's when my brother transitioned. And so my mom was navigating a lot, like losing a child. And so I was like, well, where can I put all of this that's like creates more ease for her?
Sure.
And I was like, a journal, like, let me just write, let me create. And so looking back at it now and having more language for it, it's always been that.
Yeah.
Like, and then from there, every other creative style evolved. So music, all the things.
Yeah. Very interesting to think about at 8 years old, already wanting to care for not only just other people, but specifically the people in your life that are supposed to be your caregivers too.
Yeah.
And knowing, okay, for whatever reason, maybe not having the language, but like, I have to help meet this person where they're at and like take some of the stress off.
Yeah.
What made journaling the thing that you wanted to do?
There was this program called Young Authors at my school where they would give you essentially like a completely blank book. Like the cover was blank, the pages inside were all blank. And it was like a competition. And I am an Aries, so I am also competitive. And I was like, I'm about to make the bomb story that's gonna like win for 3rd grade.
Yep.
It's gonna do it. And that just sparked everything. Cause I was like, oh, you can write anything. Like pages can just fill. Like you can just fill them with whatever you want. And so it was like just a space of freedom for me. And I spent a lot of time just like kind of trying to stay out the way of the adults in my life. And now I understand like, cause they were grieving.
Sure.
But I would just like be outside or like in a book or writing or something. And so I think switching from having a diary to a journal was also a thing. Like I was very much like, well, I don't like, boys were annoying. So I was like, I'm not about to sit here and write about boys.
Right.
But I'm going to write about, but I was like, I'm going to write about like whatever I'm thinking or feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I kept those like private because I think it probably would have been a bit concerning for like the adults in my life.
Sure.
But I'm also just grateful that I even like had some kind of outlet because I don't know where that energy would have went had I not been putting it somewhere. But yeah, Young Authors is really what like sparked everything. Like I was like, oh, I can do this and I could win. I don't remember if I won, but that's all like, that was my like driving force.
Yeah. It created the foundation and the memory of winning or losing wasn't important, but the practice that you walked away with, the staying power of that, super important. I love that. Because I feel like when I was researching and reading up about you, poetry specifically comes up first. And you talked about just like the writing practice starting from journaling. I was wondering when like poetry became a important part of the practice of writing for you.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was writing poetry. Like I didn't know that that was the style that I was using. Like I was naturally writing in prose or narrative form. And I think the first time I had a teacher in high school that we were like studying Shakespeare, and I was just like, this feels very natural. Like I could like fall into it, even though it was like metered and like sonnets and stuff. And so language has always been like a love of mine, like reading. And then from there, I just started reading a lot of poetry. just exploring written word more.
Yeah.
And I think then I connected the dots of like, oh, I've been writing poetry, but had no idea. And I never would call myself a poet. Like other people would say that I was a poet.
Sure.
And it was a hard time for me to take that on that like
right. Because
title.
again, it's like putting the label. They're putting the label on you.
Yeah.
You haven't led with "I'm a poet."
Yeah,
right.
and I mean, it took forever for me to say like I'm a writer. Like it felt like such a like sacred role in the world. Like when I think of a writer, I'm like, well, Toni Morrison or June Jordan. Like and I would like picture myself in those spaces, and I'm just like, well, that's not me. And I had to like, it was like the imposter syndrome of it too. And I had to step back and be like, okay, well, yeah, actually I am a writer. Like that is my literal daily practice.
Yeah.
So regardless if it's poetry, regardless if it's like fiction, storytelling, whatever it is, it's writing, it's written word.
Yeah.
And then when I was writing my way through grief, it came out as poetry. So that's why my book is poetry. I don't know that I could have done it any other way. Like that's just how it came out.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess, yeah, I am a poet. Cool. And now I do know it. So yeah.
Well, it's just like another tool in your bag to go to. And people might mistakenly think that's the sword that you wield and the only sword in your arsenal, but you have a whole plethora of, I don't know why I went to violent weaponry type things.
I like
because
weapons.
You're a metalworker, maybe. I don't know why I went in that direction. But it's just like, you have, again, you're multifaceted, multi-hyphenated as a creator. You're a creator first. And that's like taking that practice beyond just the writing. When did you start to add to the hyphens? When did you were like, okay, I'm a writer. I'm doing all of these different things from a writing perspective. Now I want to do something else.
Yeah. Well, I can thank my grandparents for that because they just wanted me to keep me busy. They were
classic grandparent behavior.
Yeah, like they were very just like, oh, do you like sports? Do you like you like music? So great. Here's, you're gonna take piano, you're gonna take voice, you're gonna do, and I like learned the mandolin. Like so anytime I would kind of get bored with one thing, it would like something else would kind of just be like put in front of me, like stay busy, like keep. And now I look back and I'm just like, oh, that was also a great skill for coping through the grief that I didn't know I was experiencing.
Sure.
Being a teenager and just like navigating a whole world of like, what is going on with my emotions just as like a teenager, but also adding like grief into the mix. So I think that also just kind of started happening naturally. Like I played every sport. It was like softball, volleyball, basketball. Didn't like basketball as much. So went back to the 2, but I'm also doing choir. Like, so there was always just a lot going on and it didn't ever feel like too much to me.
Sure.
Like I was just like, oh, cool. What's the next thing? Like, I want to do it all, or at least want to try and see how it feels, see what it does for my spirit, see what it does for my energy. And so I think from there, like having that foundation just like spread into how I move now.
Yeah. How does, you've talked a little bit about it, and I know in your book you get into it, obviously, because it encompasses the feeling of grief. What you've talked about navigating those things, but not knowing that you were navigating at the time. When do you come to that realization, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah.
And how does that impact the way that you have been approaching creation?
Yeah, I think now that I'm older and have more language, I can look back and see, okay, 8-year-old me chose to grieve and through writing. And I was watching the adults in my life grieve, didn't know that's what was happening, but I'm like watching my mom be not really my mom anymore, like be really sad.
Sure.
Or I'm watching my grandparents, like I'm spending more time with them. So things in my life started to shift then. And then 14, my mom transitions and it's like, okay, she has a whole conversation with me that my 14-year-old awareness was just mad.
Sure.
Like, what do you mean? Like, my life is going to be terrible now because you're my mom.
Right.
So I obviously want my mom here. So now when I look back on those times, I'm just like, oh, I chose to just move energy, but I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I just knew I wanted to feel differently.
Yeah.
I didn't like the feeling of not wanting to get out of bed. I didn't like the feeling of like, I don't have energy to hang out with my friends or play sports or do these things that like were bringing me joy.
Yeah.
And so I would just try to find like remedies. And now that like through therapy and like books and my own just like seeking of knowledge, I understand like, oh, I was constantly in pursuit of healing in some way. Like I didn't want to feel this way. So what could bring me from here to here, essentially. And so now that is how I approach my journey in everything. Because grief just doesn't end. You know, like it's like it'd be so great. It'd be so great. But like this past October marked 20 years without my mom.
Okay.
And I thought that I would feel almost just like that it would be easy, I think.
Sure.
Like, I think I was just like, 20 years. Like, that's 2 decades. Like, I've been doing these things, having these practices, healing out loud, quite literally, but it like rocked me because I was just like, oh, it's been 20 years and I still feel like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, I can still recall all of these memories. I can still remember the very last conversation we have. And I think it's really like I just always go back to the practices. Like I always go back to, okay, I know that writing works for me in this way. I know that metalwork works for me in this way. I know that being in community, like now I understand I have to ask for help or I have to voice what I need.
Right.
Like when it was the 20-year anniversary, like I called them my board of advisors. Like they're my inner circle. And I was like, y'all, I don't know what I need, but I need something. Yeah. Whether it's like prayers, energy, food, I don't know. Like y'all know, but I don't. So, but even that showed me like the true power in staying committed to these practices that even before I had language for them, like returning to them and just staying in the practice made it way easier when it was like a really hard day. Yeah. Because those are still going to come.
100%.
Like, always.
I think that the buffer of time feels like you said, makes things easier. And yet it speaks to how foundational or how just impactful a memory or a moment can be. Yeah. That you can be pulled back in that way. Yeah. I feel like I've been going through some of that personally with some stuff recently. And I've been thinking about this idea of time and how we constantly are, enslaved to the movement forward, and we have the ability to travel back when we don't want to. Usually at the most inopportune times. Yeah. But what I love about what you've shared so far is like you started to do this healing practice when you were really young. And I'm thinking about like my younger self and how I was like trying to cope, but it was more like denial. And it was like the stages of, like, I guess grieving. I was grieving, but I was so trapped in denial, like I couldn't move through the stages. Yeah. So I just think it's really interesting to think about how just the different experiences one can have.
Yeah. I also think it's just based upon like the tools that you see being used.
Sure, exactly.
Like my grandfather was like, when I think about who I've always wanted to be as just a human, like people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I'm like, Pa, like I wanted to be my grandfather and I still strive for that today, like in character. Yeah. He very much was a person that when I think about like healing out loud, he was doing it. Like he wouldn't say that's what he was doing, but I'm like, I always knew I could find him in the workshop. I always knew I could find him like moving energy. Yeah. And now I can reflect. I'm just like, oh, like I had that example without the conversation of it. Yeah. So I think I was quite literally just following by example. And that helped me build my toolbox before I even like really knew what I was doing. I was just like, well, he's a great person. So maybe if I follow in some regard, then I'll turn out okay.
Yeah. It's so important modeling. Yeah. And like, especially the indirect ways that we can model for someone. our son currently is about to turn 10 months old, and we talk about modeling throughout the pregnancy journey a lot.
Yeah.
And I find us sometimes struggling to make sure that we're always doing that. And it's like, you want to be vigilant and you also don't want to be stifling.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to find the balance between all of that. And I love that I love it. I dislike that I didn't have the types of models that I needed. I had good models in some regards, but wish that I had other models. But I love that my experience is not all encompassing or a generalization of everyone else's experience. And so I appreciate you sharing, because it just helps center me and bring me back to this idea of the individual being part of the blanket whole and, being an important thread and part of that tapestry. What was I going to say? Where was I going to go with that? Okay. I have a lot of different directions, but you've talked about healing out loud a lot. I want to go there. But first, before we go there, I want to ask, when you realized you had found language to start describing this experience, because I feel like that is a natural lead in to how you get from discovering language to we're going to heal out loud in this way.
I don't know that I've ever thought about how that connected, because it really just kind of feels seamless when I think about just the trajectory of my life. I think probably though 2021 was the most impactful year of my life in terms of I had to get really real with saying the hard things out loud. Oh, okay. I had already experienced grief, obviously, my brother, my mother, but in 2021, my grandparents transitioned within 6 days of each other, and one of my very best friends on the same day as my grandfather, and then one of my other very best friends a few months after that. And so I got to a point of quite literally just on my knees, how do I continue as a human being when I don't have any energy? I would remember I was in the middle of work contracts. I was doing a lot of freelancing at the time, just writing for different sources and editing and stuff. And I did a literal copy paste email to all of them. And I was like, I don't even if I tried to work right now, what I produce, I'm going to be ashamed of. Y'all might think it's fine. Y'all might think I know for a fact it's not at a level that I am even remotely proud of, let alone feel is authentic. And so I felt like I was starting to abandon myself if I didn't have those conversations. So I think that year was really a reckoning for me of one, I have to shut everything down. And I have to get really real about, if I don't take healing seriously and really put the hard truths together, I don't know that I will literally be here, because I was so just exhausted, burnout, emotionally depleted. And that's why I literally just quit speaking and wrote. I wrote my book in pretty much 4 months and was I have no idea. I don't know what else to do except this thing. I just know I can write. Yeah. I can't always say the thing. And then from there, I think once I wrote it all and start having the conversations with that process, I was then just okay, this is now what I'm doing. This is what I'm dedicating my life to, because 1, I want to live. 2, I want to see other people live through, God only knows the hardest parts of their life. If it felt anything like I felt, how can I stand in the gap, or how can I provide tools or resources or whatever it may be? So everything shifted. So I'm just oh, well, there's a reason that I let go of all those contracts. I wouldn't have had capacity to do what I do now if I was still doing that. So I guess that would kind of be the conscious shift that occurred. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. One, when you were writing the book, you just said you're kind of one of your lowest points. You make the decision, I'm done being vocal for a moment. I'm going to be vocal with the pen and use my voice and not whatever other smattering of voices might be around. When did you realize that, or when in the 4-month period did you realize, okay, this is a thing, like you said, that I think can be a way for me to stand in that gap? Because we talked about, journaling initially very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that private. Keeping that private. This is something that now lives in the world. You brought the original copy with you that you keep with you wherever you go. When did you realize, or was it a conscious decision to be like, this is something I think that not only is for me, but needs to live in the world for others?
I don't know that it was a conscious decision, because let me see. I think Suffer Well has like 112 pages. Yeah, so it's around like 100 poems. My final manuscript was 395 pages. So there's a lot that's not here, obviously.
Yeah.
And I had always wanted to write a book. Like, I was always just like, man, like one day I am going to write a book.
Yeah.
So even when I was in the midst of writing, I wasn't thinking like this is going to be a publication of any kind. Sure. Like, it was just really my like healing process. And as I like sat with it more and started to like see all these journals I'm filling up, all of this, I'm like, oh, this is a crazy amount of work. Like, this is something. I don't really know what, but it's something. And I was thinking about like one of my very best friends, Chantel Massey, she had done a book with VK Press. And when I thought about whenever I wanted to do a book, that I knew I wanted it to be with a Black-owned publication. And when I thought about like, well, if I'm going to release any of this into the world, I need to be held by Black women. So VK Press, my entire publishing process was like step by step. I was with another Black woman at one point or another. So like they were really essential to my healing process. And I had sent just an example, like a sample to Siobhan. And when she read it, she was like, yeah, Korie, like this is a book. Like this can be a book if you want it to be a book. And I had some extra funds and was like, well, YOLO. Like, okay. I went on this like wild journey of like, well, everybody just unfortunately died. And what if I'm next? So let me like hurry up and do all the things I ever wanted to do. Like when I tell you I was traveling, you couldn't have told me in that year, if I felt it in my spirit to do it, I did it. So that's really like also great that came out of that was just like you literally only live once. Yeah. So what am I going to do with my time? And so it just it naturally evolved of like, okay, I wrote all this stuff. What can I now do with it? Because I didn't feel right just like letting it sit in these journals. Okay. Like that was another thing. I was like, if this is what got me through, then it's got to help get somebody else through too. Sure. Like there's like, we all have that in common. Yeah. Grief, losing, loss, whatever kind of grief it is. So it just naturally evolved, and the process was huge in my healing process because I'm like, oh, I could say all the hard things. I could cry with them. I could, anything that I needed to do, I could do.
100%. I think I've said this multiple times for multiple different things, but I think misunderstandings that we have with loss is that it is only taking away. And while we do lose something, I also feel like it can be a building block to other things. And again, like you have to go through the healing process to find that next place that you want to go. Yeah.
Well, that's why I always tell people I'm grieving and grateful because I quite literally would not live the life that I prayed for in this exact season had I not experienced all of that grief. Sure. Like I wouldn't even literally live in the home that I live in. I would there are all of these aspects about my life that I remember praying, like, I just want to live creatively. I just want to make art. I just want to help people. Okay, well, I couldn't have done any of this without like the hardship
Yeah.
that I went through. And that's a hard space to sit in sometimes. Cause it's like,
Sure.
would I choose that? No. Like I would have never chosen all of that to transpire. So it's the simultaneous, like, yeah, I'm grieving and I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Because it's all been necessary.
Yeah. And like, again, like we can live in the multiplicity. We do contain multitudes, and to distill it down or pull it down to just one or two options is not allowing us to live into that full humanity, to access all of the different ways that might push us into the directions that we didn't even realize we could go.
Yeah.
There's been a few terms that have come up a number of times, and I want to get your specific definitions for them, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The first one is grief. What is Korie's definition of grief?
Ooh. Wow. I think the first word that comes to me is just an experience.
Okay.
Because grief takes so many pathways. Like when I think about grief, I don't just think about death and loss. Like I think about life transitions. I think about moving. I think about friendships evolving. I think about me not being the version of myself I thought I would be in this current like age or whatever it may
grieving
be.
Hypotheticals.
Like all the things. So it's hard for me to even like put a full explanation on it. I think like experience is the best thing because I'm just like it transforms and takes new shape all the time.
Yeah.
But it ultimately it's an experience. And it's an experience that it never ends. Like, so but it always takes new shape.
Yeah.
Like even what I was grieving last year looks completely different this year.
Yeah.
So it's still there. It's still an experience, but it's morphed into something. Like sometimes I think about it like flubber.
Okay.
Like that, you know, it can quite literally morph, but when it like goes into a different substance, it's doing something different. It's acting different, but it's still the same thing. Like it's still the same thing. It's just like, I don't know why.
That's
like,
a pretty good analogy, to be honest.
Flubber often comes up in my life. I don't know what that's about.
We got to unpack that sometime.
Yeah, like I'm like, but yeah, like it's like that. It's like, it's an experience and it just like, it's a shapeshifter. It morphs.
I love that. The next one, healing. What is Korie's definition, or how does Korie define healing?
I define healing. It's a messy conglomeration of emotions and experiences, and I never know what I'm going to get from it, but I know that it puts me closer to my wholeness, which is what my whole goal is and what I want to see for everyone. So I think if I had to choose like really one word definition, it's journey. And that's what it is for me.
I love it. And I'm already weaving these things together. All right. The last one that I would like your specific definition for is community.
Community is, to me, love, and not just in the, I like what you do. Like, no, like it's the deep care. It's the tribal mentality of like, we quite literally go farther together. So when I think of community, I think of collective. So are we moving collectively? Like as we're journeying forward, do you have what you need in order for us to continue moving forward? If you don't, then we need to stop and we need to evaluate and figure out what needs to happen so that we can all continually move forward. Like I look at it a lot like nature. Like nature knows how to be and how to provide for all parts of it. Trees, like forests, like what they send whatever is needed to a hurting member. And so I look at it that way of like, I think community to me is more about collective than anything. And not as like a buzzword. like I can't stand it as a buzzword.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's collective and it's care.
Mm. There are many things that I want to do in 2025, and they're all rooted in a lot of that.
Beautiful.
And I think that I love this explanation of the forest and how the forest will send help wherever help is needed. And I think that when I was listening to you explain it, it made me think about equity and how we misunderstand equity.
Misunderstand.
Because I think like that has now become a buzzword.
Yeah.
And I think when I think about equity and what I've read and what I learned about it, is like it goes to your analogy and definition of community is like, okay, we see that you don't have what you need to go forward and continue forward in the collective. So we're all going to stop. We're going to address this problem, and then we're going to go forward.
Yeah.
And I've been having tough conversations recently with some people close to my life. And I think that I've been struggling to define it in the right way.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just bringing this up because I'm like, okay, sometimes the podcast is therapy for me as well.
Yeah,
and
I love it.
The healing practice as well. But I'm just thinking about, okay, I just really appreciate you sharing it, because I'm like, if people could just see it from this perspective of like, we can all take a collective stop, because if we help who's here, who has been suffering the most, who needs care now, we can all then move forward together, and everybody's coming along. It's not just this one group and we leave the people behind, which you talked about being a competitive person. I love competition. I think competition is set in a good place, but especially after this past year, I'm really leaning into the aspect of collaboration. So I asked you about community, because I think when I think about innovation, I always hear competition drives innovation, which I think is true. And I believe that collaboration can drive innovation further, because collaboration is about how do we all come together and make us go to this goal and reach this goal. Competition is how do we each come up with the best solution, and then we win and other people lose. So naturally somebody's going to be left behind. Yeah. How do we move collectively so we're not leaving those folks behind? Yeah.
And I think when I think about competition now, it's like I'm competing with myself.
Sure.
Like, you know, it's like there's room for that, of course. Because it's like, okay, how can I surpass this version of myself that I've been? But I'm very much in that same vein of like, no, it's like, let's move collectively. Let's collaborate. Let's if I have something that you need, bet here. I wish we could just barter. Like if we could go back to bartering, I would thrive. Yeah. Love it. Like what you need? You need me to wield something for you? Cool. Like, let's just do that. You know how much easier it would be
for that to happen.
Me too.
Yeah, we have to get into that. We have to get into that. Okay. The reason I asked you about those three particular things, you recently partook in a series called Petals and Patriarchy, which I think is all of those three things mishmashed together. Yeah, that was really incredible what you did. Particularly your series, your part in the series. One of the things that you talked about in the series was your work being rooted in your ancestors. You just talked about how off mic, we talked about how you're now back in the childhood home you grew up in. In the Petals and Patriarchy, you talked about the shop that you do your metalwork in. That was the shop that your grandfather did that work in. I was wondering if you could just break down why a collaboration like that is so important to you as an individual creator, and then as potentially maybe a model for how we can create going forward as a community or a collective. Yeah,
I've always loved collaboration, and Sarah, who did all of the photography for that, she has captured me in so many seasons of life. And when I tell you, that's also been integral to my healing, is seeing myself, because she makes me see myself. So as soon as it was anything Sarah's in, I'm like, yes. It's always a yes. Yeah. Whatever it is. And then just thinking about the integration of even the flowers and honoring. And when we were talking through just what it could look like, I'm like, oh, this is quite literally gives visual to turning the graves in my life into gardens. How flourishing can continue from a space of grief, from a space of death. Like things do have to die in order for new to come.
Yeah.
Like it's the circle of life. Like it just is what it
part of
is.
life.
Yeah. And so thinking about like collaborating in this way, it was so sacred. And I love being able to bring people into my space in that way too, because I can't take the workshop anywhere else. Like I can bring my pieces with me and like, yeah, maybe you can feel the energy, but there's something so sacred about creating in a space that those that went before me have created. And like, so it's a collaboration with ancestors. It's a collaboration with community now. It's a collaboration with the future of what can this look like if we actually just get out of our own way and are like, yo, what do you need? Like, cool. Tell me what you like. Let's be able to be vulnerable enough to say, I need this to bring this vision to life.
Sure.
And that's what both Sarah and Madeline were doing. Like they're reaching out and they're like, hey, this is the vision. This is a bet. Let's do it. Like to me, it's simple, but people overcomplicate it all the time. And like I'm in the midst of a really big collaboration right now, trying to push out like care packages. And it's the slowest journey because every single piece is a collaboration, but I wouldn't change it because it's like, it's necessary.
No, it's probably supposed to move at that pace.
Yeah. Like it's not supposed to be rushed. Yeah. Like so I think it's a beautiful model. And when you think about that, it requires us to practice vulnerability. Like it requires us to say what we need. Yeah. It requires us to speak our ideas out loud, which is a vulnerable thing. Like, especially in creative culture too. It's just like, because it's been deemed that if you share your idea, somebody's going to take it or this, that, and the other. And it's like, there is so much room out here and nobody's going to do it how you do it.
Exactly.
So even, like, you know how many podcasts there are in the world?
There's a lot.
But nobody does it like you do it. You know what I mean? Like
I look every day and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But it's like, you're the only you.
Exactly.
So it's like, and the intentionality of it. So I don't know. I don't even know if that answered the question, but that's just what came to my mind.
No, 100%. I think it 100% answered the question. And I love what you say about sometimes we got to get out of our own way. And I think we put a lot of barriers in front of our own selves. Like it's really easy to do that. And then there are those institutional barriers as well, which then can potentially create more personal barriers because we don't know any better. And so before we get to that, I feel like your answer actually perfect segue into two different questions. So the first one is, I want to stay on the spirit of collaboration. We have a recurring segment on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, where our guests shout out who won or whoever they want to shout out and give their flowers to at the moment. So I want to ask you real quick, Korie, is there anybody that you'd like to give their flowers to today?
Oh, man. I got a list. You know, I'd really love to give my flowers to the Black men in my life.
Okay.
Who have showed up and healed me in ways I didn't know that I needed. Like helped me move through my father wound, helped me. And there's a collective of them. Fox, you just talked to him.
Shout out Fox.
He's one of them, but even like that brotherhood, Vince was like essential to me even meeting most of those guys. And just being able to like sit at tables with them and hear them just say the real things in their life and be vulnerable and be transparent gave me permission to then do that too and feel safe and held in that. And there's a long list of them, but I just feel like Black men don't get their flowers as often as they should until, unfortunately, it's after they're no longer here. And so if I could, there's a project that gives flowers to Black men. And I'm like, let's like do that. I would love.
There's a thing that actually does that.
I think it's out of Chicago. I don't want to get the name wrong, but I think it's out of Chicago.
If we figure it out, we'll put it in the show notes.
I know it's on Instagram if I check my phone.
We'll definitely do that.
But
I love it. I love it. Shout out to Black men who are doing it. Shout out to Madeline McKinnon, Freeda's Flowers, for sponsoring this particular segment. Freeda'sFlowersIndy.com for all your floral needs that you might need here in the city. Which brings me to the second part of that question, which is the institutional part. So I think you gave a lot of great examples how we get in our own way and why that's something we need to stop doing. If we get
Yeah.
out of our own way, we can go really far. And then I brought up the institutional side, the institutional barriers. You were recently named a recipient of the Creative Renewal Arts Fellowship Grant, which is awesome.
Thank you.
Super awesome. You get a decent amount to create, to do the thing that you want to do, and like really pour into that focus. I want to ask you I want to ask you what you might be focusing on. But before I do that, to talk about this institutional barrier, I wanted to ask where you think the arts community and the city or in this area is most underserved, and how something like this program hopefully helps to better serve that area.
Yeah. I think when I think about the spaces that are underserved, I think in terms of like artistry, oftentimes visual arts is like highlighted major, which is beautiful as it should be. But there's all of these other art forms that are deeply healing and deeply impactful that just because you can't like quickly see them and access them in that way, they kind of fall to the wayside.
Sure.
And I speak from that from like, for instance, with my metalwork, like I've applied to so many grants, so many like fellowships, all these things. And the answer has always been no, because it's not deemed the like art form that they're looking for, or even just with like literature.
Sure.
Like I would love to see people read more. I would I would love if people would read more. And that's just on basic principles. Like just read the caption. Like just read. So I think like being able to have like literary spaces funded more would be incredible and help just keep education and equity, even like the more that we can educate each other and our community and the outside communities, whatever it may be, I think that we'll be able to go farther. And so I do love programs like Creative Renewal because like it is so broad. Like I'm under the multidisciplinary category, which there's a lot of spaces that don't even offer that. Like it's either you have to be very specific, or you don't even get a shot.
Sure.
So to know that, no, I applied with the lens, and I've applied several times. So, but I'm so grateful for this time because it's right on time. Like I don't think I could have stewarded it well if it would have happened previously.
Right.
Now I'm in a season of life. I'm very clear on my purpose and the direction I need to go. And so I'm going to lean even further into learning more Indigenous healing practices in order to bring them back to my community, bring them back home, bring them back here to say like, okay, like let's do these somatic practices. Let's do like, that's what metalwork is for me. And just really like exploring what that can look like. But I think if we can push the limit further of, hey, like art comes in so many forms. Like when I think about creativity, like I said, like it's so deeply tied to healing. Like I play sound healing instruments. That's not considered music in a lot of spaces. So like, but what if it was?
Yeah.
Like I know some incredible like singing bowl players that it's like, imagine if that got to be on a big stage. I did get to see Andre 3000 recently. And when I tell you, it should be on a stage everywhere because it was healing.
Yeah.
Like it was a different kind of musicality, but it was healing. So thinking about like how that could be integrated in the city would be cool is like just going beyond, I think, what is the typical artistry.
Sure.
Which like, I would love to see more dance. I would love to see more, like culinary arts, all of these creative outlets that I think we just kind of forget about because they're just not as easily accessible to like a quick scroll.
Sure.
And it's like, well, where's the in-person? Like, where is the collaboration? Like, I think the more that we collaborate, the more opportunities there will be to see how that could spread.
Yeah. Well, and how do we make those, even from a visibility standpoint, how do we make, or not just from a visibility standpoint, but how do we make those things, those art forms generally deemed inaccessible to certain people, accessible to all those people who might have an opportunity? We talked with Nietzsche Stepanukul from the Indie Symphony about like her work as community engagement to get other people who would not generally think about like orchestral music, which is general, like in their minds, old white men being like, this is their realm. Like, how does a young black kid get involved in that who might be really interested in something like that? How do we break the barrier down of accessibility? Not just from like, where do we see it, but like, if we see it, can we actually get into it?
Yeah.
Is because it's like a lot of times things get dangled in front of you with the explicit statement of you can't access this. You this is not for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, again, we're talking about barriers, pulling that down. So that way at least you have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And not just.
Yeah. Like that's why I love like fellowships, grants, scholarships. Like what would it look like for these spaces that do like play more in the arts to offer scholarships or start to even have the conversation of what that can look like.
Right.
Like, how do we create that? And I think that all literally just comes down to like listening to what the actual need is. Like, are we actually hearing what the need is? And then are we creating a solution to impact? Like, I do love grants for this reason because they're very like cut and dry of like, what's the need? Does the impact of this grant meet the need?
Yeah.
It's that simple. And I think we're not having enough of those conversations of just like, hey, like we're hearing the need over and over, but oftentimes the like solution doesn't actually align with the need. It aligns with the institution. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, I just feel like it could be so simple.
It is that simple.
Yeah.
But it does go back to, and this is more rooted in like capitalism, which is a whole other thing, but it goes back to just how does this affect the money involved? And if they can't see that, then they're going to turn away as much as possible until they find the thing that, or even if it's not the thing, they can throw money at whatever to make that thing what, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying, but
I fully get it. I get it.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah. You get it. I had another. We're just getting on to the diatribes now.
Yeah.
Okay, but what was I going to say? No. I was going to tie something back to something you said earlier. Some of that came full circle for sure. And when I listen to this episode back, I'm definitely going to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
But until then, what I want to do, okay, so you talk about you want to bring back more indigenous healing practices back to your community. That's kind of the focus that you'll be doing for this grant.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know as well, like when you said you applied for this a number of times. Now that you've gotten it and like you said, you have this clear focus that you maybe didn't have before. I was wondering as a creative, what does the waiting time post-application, how does that affect your creative process? Does it affect it at all? Or is it something that's just like, okay, I filled this application out and now I'm back to the work?
Yeah, I think it didn't affect anything for me because anytime I apply for any kind of grant or anything, I'm already thinking about how can I do this even if I don't receive it? Like, what can I make shake to? So that's why like certain things are already in movement right now for like care packages, different things. So I was like, worst case, I'll use this funding to then fund what I really want to do in the coming year kind of thing. So I have to think in that way as like, I say I'm a creative entrepreneur because it's like, no, I really got to get creative sometimes.
Sure.
So like, how can I continue to do this work living in a capitalistic society? Like, I would love if we could barter for that reason. So, so it doesn't really affect my process in terms of like, I'm in like a waiting phase.
Sure.
I think it honestly like inspires me more of just okay, like if I can't depend on this being a yes, it'd be awesome if it is. But in the event that it's not, how can I then get creative and like create the way regardless? Which comes back down to like a lot of collaboration, a lot of, okay, I know this person does this thing really well and I do this thing really well. It'd be awesome if we just come together and do the things really well. So I don't really let it affect me. Oftentimes when I apply, I just like kind of forget about it.
Sure.
Like let go, let God. Like I'm going to find out when I find out.
Because you already got it in emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's going to happen regardless. I think this time was really impactful though, because I was in the line for early voting and I checked my email and got it and I was undone. Like it was amazing because I'm sitting there like, here I am in this line of like so much uncertainty and at least here's something certain.
Right.
Like it was like the perfect timing for me of just like, okay, like something to look forward to. Like it felt like a breath of fresh air in that moment. So the timing, God knew, because I needed it.
A lot of like right timing in your story.
Yeah.
I feel like, well, that's definitely been a big player in mine, but a lot of the conversations I've had, it's like when we start to look through our stories and we actually voice them, it's like, oh, that was supposed to happen at that time.
Yeah.
With like the hindsight being what it is, like being able to reflect on something like that and realizing, oh, that lined up really well. And I didn't even think about it lining up to push me now to sitting in this seat across from you and having this conversation.
Yeah.
Man, you know what's hilarious? I remembered what I was going to say about the other thing.
Circle
and
back.
Now I've forgotten it again. I literally oh, wait, no. Yo, I do remember. And it actually all ties in because you talked about we hear the need. We're hearing the need, but the solution that we've built does not align with what the need is. And you talked about earlier, like asking, we need to know how to ask for what we need. And like when we think about personal barriers and then institutional barriers, like keeping us from being able to voice the need, that's what happens with new institutions is like new institutions come along and they don't ask the community what it is you need and let's build a program for you that serves the need. They build a program, take it to the community. When the community they don't accept the program, they get upset at the community, and then it's like more wedges of division. Yeah. And so again, I think that's just like thinking like that is pushing me towards this idea of collaboration as opposed to competition. And not that the competition is bad, but it's just like, can we have a conversation about this and then figure out how we can move together, doing our own things that we're good at to make a better whole of whatever that is. You talk about as an individual moving towards wholeness, healing. Like, I love that. I feel like we need to be constantly on a journey of healing as a collective in order to reach that. And by healing, it means we're working together to amplify each of our own individual skills. Yeah. That's what makes the tapestry so beautiful. So
that's one of my biggest affirmations is I want whatever brings us closer to our wholeness because it's not just about my wholeness. Right. Like, that is also a pursuit of mine, but what does that do if I don't have, if we're not there together, you know, like what's the point?
100%.
Like, I don't care about this whole, like, it's lonely at the top. Why? Right. Who's top?
Yeah. Why can't you wait? Like, so they can't come with me to the top?
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Korie, I appreciate everything that you shared so far. I've got 3 more things for you. The first one is you posted on your story. So we're recording this in November for everyone, even though this is December that you're listening to this. You posted on your stories today about choosing gratitude. Yeah. And you've talked about being grateful a couple different times. Wow. So I just wanted to ask you, specifically, because you asked people in your stories to share what they're grateful for. I was wondering if you could share 3 things that you are currently grateful for. Yeah.
I am deeply grateful to be an auntie. This morning, I got to play hide and seek and make slime with my godkids.
Love her.
Yeah. Like, it was, I'm deeply grateful for breath and, like, the gift of just literally being here. I don't know how sometimes. And I am deeply grateful for community and spaces like this to actually have, to me, the conversations that really matter, like authenticity and just like being real. It's like at the end of the day, like we're all human, but it's like, let's like be better at being human.
Yeah, we can do better at it. Essentially, if we know we can do better, there's no reason to not choose it. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. The next thing is you brought a couple of different things. We've been doing artist highlights here in the city, and we talked before. I was not sure what you might bring. Yeah. But you brought a lot of stuff that we couldn't fully display in the background, but I want to give you an opportunity to share some of the stuff that you got going on. Yeah.
Cool. Yes. So obviously my book, Suffer Well, Poems for the Grieving. You can usually get it locally at Ujama or Black World Schoolers, the bookmobile. I also brought one of my bucket hats, my healing bucket hats. This is my favorite thing that I've ever made. And that's all linked on my Instagram, all that jazz. And then my journals that just released. Healing Looks Good on You. And you can't pour from an empty cup. And there's a few copies available at Ujama right now. These will also be in the care packages that are coming. Also, just like talk to me. I'm very much like I always have them on me. And then like you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm going to be releasing this coffee with Blue Mind. It's their Ethiopia. Like I said, I'm fueled by coffee. And the whole thing is centered around happy first sip. Like, let's slow down long enough to just like make your coffee, enjoy your time, a moment of gratitude, make it be a happy first sip. What does that look like for you? So yeah, that's a few things. And then, I don't know, I probably have metalwork in my pocket somewhere.
We got it right here.
Got it on my, yeah.
Look at this amazing piece that she gifted us.
Yes. So that is a literal conversation piece.
A literal conversation piece.
Yeah. And, you know, I make spoon rings, fork rings, silverware, all the things. So
literal creator.
Yeah.
Literal creator of things. I love it. I'm absolutely here for it. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and share. We didn't even get to your doula work, and I have been like in the back of my mind brainstorming a doula specific series because there are a lot of things that I would love just learn about in that conversation.
Yeah. That's a deep dive. So
we're definitely gonna have to set up another time to talk about that. But last but not least, before you go, how do we support you? How do we find you? Where do we get all of this stuff? Before you go, how do we do that?
The website for Happy First Sip will be live probably by the time this airs. So it's happyfirstsip.com. And I'm on Instagram. Korie is my name. Korie is my name. And really, yeah, that's the best. Like I like to meet up over coffee. I like to just hang out. So anyway, I'm happy to connect, share all the things.
100%. We'll have all of that linked in the show notes. Happy First Sip. Korie is my name. Everything that you got going on, Healing Out Loud. I know that you're doing a really cool thing with 1,000 Words, Indy, too. Like, isn't that a partnership you got going on at the moment?
Well, I don't. Sarah does. And I just like
Sarah.
deep.
Okay.
Yeah. So Sarah Janae, this is the last week for the Rest Lounge. So by the time this airs, that won't be. But my hope is that could be like a permanent fixture somewhere. Like an actual just place to rest. Cause it's incredible. Yeah. Like she's such a great curator. So she's another Sarah in my life that I will always say yes.
Yeah.
So I've just been going and supporting and really just like, please go and rest. So yeah.
I love it. Shout out to the Sarahs in our lives. Yeah. Shout out to Korie. Korie, thank you so much again. Can't wait to have you back and have another conversation, and can't wait to just follow along in everything that you're doing.
Yeah,
thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Thank you. For everybody else, new episodes every Tuesday on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. At Conversation Peace Pod on TikTok, YouTube, and on Instagram. Make sure you go to conversationpeacepod.com for the archives. We have cool stuff in the merch store because that is definitely live right now. And last but not least, we have really big announcements that are coming out pretty soon after this episode. So if you've made it to the end, thank you. And stay tuned for those announcements. Stay plugged in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is one of the best ways to help us continue to grow. For everyone here at Conversation Piece, I've been Patrick Armstrong, the team, John Overton, Mike Lee, the guest, Korie, the non-existent flowers, but our wonderful friend, Madeline, and everybody else. I'm Patrick Armstrong. This has been Conversation Piece, and we'll see y'all in 2025.